Good evening once again, and I welcome you to today's webinar. I am Radhika Mujumdar, and I am career counselor here at Videsh. Today's webinar is going to be about how you can transition to machine learning from any background. And I'm going to be explaining a few real stories from one of our co founders. I'm also going to be talking in detail about how you can transition to machine learning, what are the benefits of transitioning to machine learning, and what are the problems with the traditional approaches of machine learning courses. Later on, I'm also going to talk about how to write your research paper in machine learning and why writing a research paper in ML is very important. Okay, just a few pointers before I start sharing my screen. First thing is that I'm going to be recording this session and I'm going to be putting this session on our YouTube channel. So in the follow-up email that I'll be sharing with you tomorrow, I'll be sharing the YouTube link as well. So if some of you are not able to join, or if you join late or miss some of the things that have been shared, you can always refer to the YouTube recording of today's session. Also, if you have any questions, keep posting them in chat and I'll look at those questions if time permits at the end. Okay, so with that, let's begin. I'll start sharing my screen. Yeah, so today's webinar is going to be all about building your machine learning profile. Why I'm saying building your machine learning research profile is that I'll come to that part later on. But then today's webinar is going to be about transitioning to machine learning from any field. There are a few elements involved in the transition that you make. That is why I'll be talking about a research profile. And then I'm also going to be talking about, like I said, writing a research paper in machine learning. And then I'm going to be talking about a realistic timeline that is actually required to make this transition. And at the end, we are going to discuss a few things about the scientific machine learning bootcamp here at Videsh. At the end, if time permits, I'm going to be taking a few questions also. So keep posting your questions in the chat, and then we'll see if we can take them later on. If this is your first time attending Videsh's webinar, I would like to give you a quick introduction about our team, about our co-founders, and what exactly is our vision and mission. Okay, so Videsh was co-founded by three co-founders, Dr. Raj, Dr. Rajat, and Dr. Sridat, who are award-winning scientists and researchers from IIT Madras, MIT, and Purdue University in the US. Okay, so all of them completed their PhDs in machine learning and artificial intelligence in MIT and Purdue, respectively. So the reason why Videsh was founded was because of the way research was underrated, everywhere they went. And actually, they realized the importance of research after, going to US and starting with their PhDs. But then, still then they felt that people didn't have exactly the knowledge needed or the kind of exposure to research that should have been. And um, people only know about the traditional way a research is approached, but then the importance of research, or why it is very important even to transition into industry, that is something that what they found that was lacking. And that is why, with this aim, actually Videsh was founded. And not only this, but then also, research profile is something that helps you a great deal when you are applying to grad schools also. So if you have a research profile, or if you have a research paper publication in your profile, then that adds a lot of value to your profile. So that is also one of the reasons why Videsh was founded. That was because we help you to land your dream universities through giving a very immense importance on your research profile. So we focus a lot on research, and we guide a lot of students to publish their research papers. Okay, I'll be talking about one of our co-founders story, Dr. Raj, when he applied for his masters and PhD, and how he transitioned to the field of machine learning as well. But then for now, this is why Videsh was founded, and this is all about Videsh. Okay, so like I said, today's agenda, I'm not going to be going in detail again into that. Without further ado, let's begin. So first of all, our co-founder story. So Dr. Raj is basically a mechanical engineer from IIT Madras, a hardcore mechanical engineer from IIT Madras, graduated in 2017 class. And at the time when he was in his third year, he decided to apply for masters and PhD to US. And like every other student, aspired or dreamt of getting admits from one of the top universities in the world. Okay, but then when he applied, or at the time of application, he applied for mechanical engineering PhDs or mechanical engineering degrees in all of the colleges that he applied for. Okay, so at that time, even when he got admits from universities, that was for mechanical, so he would be majoring in mechanical itself. And that was at the time when he applied for masters. He ended up getting an admit from MIT with a 100% scholarship in mechanical engineering. He went to MIT, and then after his first year or so, just to get an experience, he attended one of the job fairs there. Okay, and he just, he was curious about how job fairs work. He wanted to see what kind of roles are open in the industry. He wanted to see what kind of people or what kind of industries come for job fairs at MIT. So like every other student, he was very curious about these things. But then he learned something, or he found something very interesting at that time, and that was that there were very limited job roles available in the core sector or core mechanical sector, but a lot of emerging positions or emerging designations coming up in the machine learning field. And at that time, he was absolutely unaware of what is exactly machine learning, but he was very curious as to why this field is so emerging and why there are a lot of opportunities in this field. And that is actually, that was the start of something very exciting. And that is when he decided to switch his major. Okay, and that was exactly the time when he approached one of the professors at MIT itself, and learned more about this field, as to what exactly is machine learning, how to transition to machine learning, what kind of courses you need to take in order to be a successful machine learning engineer, or pursue a PhD in machine learning. So that was the time, when he got introduced to a research group, and that was the time when he published a lot of research papers in the field of machine learning, and the rest is history. Okay, he graduated from MIT with a PhD in machine learning. So a mechanical engineer, a core mechanical engineer who had not taken any CS courses, any algorithm or DS courses, had successfully transitioned to machine learning from the top university in the world. Okay, so this is something, I think, which is very inspirational. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because um, anybody from any field can transition to machine learning. It's just that the approach that you use, the fundamentals that you use to make this kind of transition. Okay, these are some of the papers that I was talking about, when he was transitioning to this field. At the time he was in MIT, he and it was the same time COVID hit. Okay, so like I said, he graduated from IIT Madras in 2017. He went to MIT the same year, and then around 2020 COVID hit. So he was at the time in his second or third year in MIT, and that was exactly the time when machine learning became very, very important to predict patterns, or even to predict a lot of things, like hospital beds availability, or things of that sort. So machine learning became extremely vital, and people who knew how to use machine learning to make this kind of analysis or make this kind of prediction had actually gained a lot of importance. The number of research papers also being written in this particular field were being used immensely, and that was the time when he realized that he had made the right decision to transition to this particular field. Okay, these are some of more papers that he had published. Here you can see that he was, the first author here, and then this was the Sandia report, was the work that they did for the U.S. government. So you can, understand the kind of work that machine learning engineers or people who knew how to use machine learning had, that kind of importance during the time COVID hit. That was, and the rest was history. Graduated from MIT with a PhD in this field, and then got job offers from a few of top organizations also in the world. Okay, like I said, how was this possible? He did not take any formal CS courses. The roadmap or the way that he transitioned, and he approached a lot of people at that time, not just his seniors, but then a lot of professors, people in his research group also, because that time was the time when machine learning was very new. Okay, ML was something that not a lot of people had idea about how to go about this field, how to transition, and not just transition, make a very successful transition. It's not about doing a couple of courses and saying that I have transitioned successfully. It's about actually doing that kind of hands-on implementation work and implementing machine learning to solve actual problems. Okay, so like I said, these were the companies that offered him job interviews, and this was possible only because of the quality or the impact of the research work that he had done. So like I said, people have this myth that research is only for people who are pursuing PhDs or who are interested in academia, but it's not the case. Especially in fields like machine learning, research is something where you actually take up a live problem statement and you solve that problem statement using machine learning. So his experience or the number of papers that he had written got him job offers from these particular companies. But then he decided to work for Julia Computing for a bit before he and his friends decided to start a new organization, and the rest was history. But then his realization was that the way traditional machine learning is taught to people who want to transition is not right. Okay, I'll come to that part, why it is not right. But then the courses that are available when you search machine learning, or when you search on Google or on basics of machine learning or courses available on machine learning, it's not the right kind of information that you are provided with when you are searching for this kind of thing. So it's very important for you to know that to make this kind of transition, you are guided or you are taught machine learning the right way. Okay, and then the second thing was that taking example of himself, he realized that students from any field can transition to machine learning. Okay, because he was a core mechanical engineer. It's not like only people from CS can transition to ML. But then of course people in CS have a better competitive advantage, or they are able to understand things faster. But then Raj was a core mechanical engineer, and that did not stop him from getting a PhD in machine learning from MIT. So yeah, that is the case. And then there should be a lot of more emphasis on research. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Research is not only for people in academia, but then research also can be used or can be showcased as an experience when you are applying for job interviews. People ask for an experience in machine learning or solving ML problems when you are applying for job interviews, or when you're trying to make this kind of transition. But then when you are talking about this kind of transition, or when you're actually appearing for job interviews, it so happens that the interviewer asks you about your experience in solving problems, industry problems in machine learning, and that is where you can talk about your research. Because the research would be an actual problem statement that you have solved successfully, written a paper about. You can talk a lot about it. Okay, more than you can talk about any course that you would be doing from any online available courses. So that is why a lot of more emphasis should be put on research. Okay, yeah, so I'm going to now be moving to the problems with traditional ML courses for engineers. Okay, so this is the course from MIT itself, and this is a free course available on one of their sites of MIT, and this is like a free course, so you can go and you can register for the course, and you can it's like a self learning kind of a course. But then I'll talk about a few things that are not really covering the fundamentals of machine learning. And it's like they're fine until they start with linear algebra, they go around with probability, and they talk about linear classifiers, and then they talk about all of these things. But then when it comes to projects, okay, look at the projects that they are taking or they are making students do. These projects are not related to anybody's field. Okay, so first project is the automatic review analyzer, the second project is digit recognition, the third project is collaborative filtering, the fourth project is sentiment analysis. So these projects are toy projects. Okay, these are just the projects these people make students do because they get a feeling that I have done some practical hands-on case studies related to or using machine learning. But these are not actual things that you would be asked, not even in your job interviews, and these projects don't hold any value even when you're applying to grad schools. Okay, so none of these places these projects are going to be considered. The reason why I'm saying that is because these are the projects that are taught or are considered in the traditional machine learning courses. Okay, so the first project is about reviews on Netflix or any other movie sites. The second project is about digit recognition, the third project is about collaborative filtering of probably Netflix movie recommendations, and fourth fifth projects are about sentiment analysis. As you can see, none of these projects are related to none of your fields. Okay, these are not serious projects, these are just toy projects, and doing them for like getting a feel or getting a hang of machine learning is important, but then uh, they nowhere are taking into consideration real problems or actual industry problem statements or something impactful. Even these are just toy projects. Okay, and even mentioning them on your profile is not going to be any good, it's not going to benefit you in any way. So the the reason is that these projects don't show how to combine machine learning with domain knowledge. Like I said, it's not related to any of your fields. And for a successful transition, you need to not leave your domain. You need to integrate machine learning with your domain. Okay, it's very important that you should know how to integrate your domain, or how you are able to solve problems in your domain with machine learning. That is when actually you will be successfully transitioned to the field of machine learning. And then publishing research papers using these projects is not possible. It's absolutely not possible to publish research papers on these toy projects. And then without leaving your main field, you should be you should not be taught. Okay, so without leaving your main field, you should be taught machine learning. So it's not like you need to transition to completely different field when you are trying to transition to machine learning. You need not leave your main domain. That is the main purpose of a successful transition. You should use the things that you've learned in your major and integrate that with machine learning to solve an impactful problem statement. That should be the aim of how you're trying to transition. I'm now going to show you a few projects that can be considered as serious projects, or it's these are just examples. And by seeing these examples, you also will have a lot of ideas about what kind of projects you want to work upon, or what kind of research you would want to work upon considering your specific domain, so that you can make a successful transition. So the first project can be how to use machine learning to model COVID-19 infections around the world. So it's meant for engineers, scientists, data analysts, etc. And then you can also consider a project like how to recover a chemical reaction equation from data alone. So this can be considered, or this can be taken up by a chemical engineer as well. And then you can take up a project which is using machine learning to predict black hole dynamics. So for physicists and engineers also, this is the kind of project, or this is the kind of problem statement that can be converted to a serious research paper. Also for economists, you can take up a project that you can use machine learning to predict economic market forces like supply and demand. And then for biochemistry also, so what basically these projects are doing is that they are combining your domain with machine learning and solving, or attempting to write a research paper on something impactful that can be considered as a serious problem statement, and something that can be even considered when you are applying for job interviews as well, or when you're trying to apply for grad schools. Again, using machine learning to analyze fluid mechanics, climate problems, etc. So what will happen if you learn to do these projects on your own? You will get a very strong foundation in machine learning, and you will be able to successfully integrate machine learning in your field. And when you are applying or when you are appearing job interviews, you will be successfully able to confidently talk about the research statement or research problem statement that you worked upon. So you are basically leading the conversation of the entire discussion your way. Okay, that you're talking about something which you have done, and you are not giving the control to the interviewer. That is about industry transition. When you are looking at transitioning to machine learning or having a machine learning uh, experience on your profile to apply for grad schools, that is the time when you can include a publication section in your profile, and that is how you can successfully apply to top schools and expect to receive good admits from universities. Okay, you can also do independent research in your field of study and publish in top tier journals. So, what happens when you actually write research papers? You publish research papers in top journals, and that is also very, very important, because that can be a very important hook in your SOP also, and that can be a very important strength when you are appearing for job interviews as well. Like I said, it can help a great deal in your resume, both when you're applying to grad schools, when you're trying to switch roles in your industry also. Research is something that is taken very, very seriously by industries also. Okay, so like I said, you can update your CV, you can work on journal and conference submissions, you can apply to companies with domain plus ML knowledge requirements, or pure machine, or as a pure machine learning engineer or a machine learning researcher. And then I'm going to be, of course, talking about how we can collaborate together. But then you can also approach to professors in your own university if they have a different, or they have a separate AIML department. If you can collaborate with professors and write a research paper in any particular field. And like I said, it helps to improve your profile by 5 times. It's very, very important, very, very important point that I would like to stress upon a lot, is that having a research paper when you are actually trying to add machine learning knowledge to your profile, is that it helps to elevate the strength of your profile by 5 times. It's not a hypothetical number. It's actually something that we found out by analysis. When you are applying to grad schools also, when you have a research paper publication on your profile, the chances of getting admitted from top schools are increased. And when you're trying to switch careers, or when you're trying to switch industries and trying to transition to machine learning, interviewers take you a lot more seriously when you have a research paper publication. Okay, so very, very important point. And then these are just some of the domains that I have mentioned, of people who can make a successful transition to machine learning. All of the domains, or in every field, you can integrate machine learning. Okay, so that you can take a interesting problem statement in even fields related to economics, finance, arts, all of these, psychology, biochemistry, biology, all of these fields also come under integrating that with ML. So you can produce impactful research papers by integrating your field with machine learning. And then getting started with machine learning. So I am just going to be talking about a playlist that we have on YouTube, how you can get started with machine learning. So if it's like you are a complete beginner, and you just need a few things to start with, okay, before writing, or at the time of writing a research paper, these are some of the playlists that you should start with. Okay, just a moment. Yeah, so this is the playlist that I'm talking about: machine learning teach by doing. Okay, a very, very important playlist, or something that we have, or our co-founder has recorded a lot of videos in this particular playlist. And this is, I think, something you should actually go to and try learning side by side when you are writing a research paper. A lot of things he mentions in very detail, and in his language he talks about nuts and bolts of how you can get started with machine learning. A very impactful impactful playlist, I believe. But then another point I would like to mention here is that look at the number of views that you can see from day 2, day 3, etc. So we're very excited when we are starting something new. We are very enthusiastic, but then the enthusiasm gradually starts to fade down once we proceed to the further lecture. So that is something that actually happens. We're all humans, but then if you decide to actually, all of you should go through this playlist, and if you are serious about making a successful transition, then take a time in the day when you can watch a video of this playlist. Every video is approximately 30 minutes duration, and there are like 37, 38 videos in this entire playlist. So a month and a half should be enough to go through the entire playlist. And this is where you can start with. Okay, that is where ideally you should start. And from side by side also, you should start about getting ideas about publishing or writing a research paper in your domain and machine learning. So that is where you should get started with. So, this is the first part of the webinar. The second part is where I'm going to be talking about writing a research paper in machine learning. Okay, the next part will be focused mainly on writing a research paper in machine learning. And then we are going to be talking about the paper outline first and different elements of the research paper. Okay, I'm just going to be giving you a general guideline of what is the thing that is included in a research paper manuscript, and then what happens post submission, how you should choose journals, conferences, etc., and what care you should take when you are actually submitting a paper manuscript. Okay, so these are the 12 elements of a research paper, out of which 5 elements form the skeleton of your research paper, that is the paper outline. Okay, so a title, abstract, introduction, tables, and figures form the paper outline. And once you have these 5 elements ready, you're almost done with the skeleton of the paper, and the rest of the things can be developed. Okay, rest of the things can be prepared. Okay, so why is a paper outline so important? Okay, the paper outline is actually going to give you an idea of what your research paper is, where your research paper is actually going, what is the novelty in your paper, and what actually is something that you have contributed to. Okay, the kind of template that you should choose actually is the one from these two. We technically recommend overleaf because it is very very easy to use and gives this kind of professional feel to your paper. And of course, but if any of you is not comfortable with overleaf, you can use the MS Word template as well. Okay, so the first part of the paper outline is the title and abstract. This is just a example of a title and an abstract of the length of the abstract, or the length of the title as well. Title ideally is 12 to 13 page long, and it actually technically gives you an entire idea of what your research paper is going to be about. Okay, so here you can see that scientific machine learning in ecological systems, a study on the predator prey dynamics. So this title is giving an entire insight that the paper is based on scientific machine learning. What is it based on? In ecological systems. What does it talk about? A study on predator prey dynamics. It's very very clear, crisp, and concise. Okay, that is how your title should ideally be. The abstract basically is an essay, 200, 300 word essay that we have divided into 4 parts for your ease of understanding. Okay, the first part talks about large scale problem, and it caters to a wider audience. The second part talks about the specific challenge that you are addressing. The third point talks about specific merits and demerits or details of your approach. And fourth point talks again about wider implications. So as you can see, the first and fourth part are mostly applied or mostly catered to a wider audience, and then second and third part are mostly catered to a specific audience. That is why we call an abstract like an hourglass approach, because it is very easy for you to remember an hourglass when we talk about an abstract. Okay, so like an hourglass, the first and fourth points are applied to a larger audience, and the second and third point, like in Hourglass, are catered only to specific audience or experts in that particular field. The total length or the total word limit is 200 words, 200 250 words for an abstract. But then, when you're writing a paper outline, you should write point wise abstract, okay? And then later on we are going to be converting that point wise abstract into a full-fledged paragraph, okay? This is about the abstract. Now the introduction is the one of the most important sections of our paper outline, because it is a 1000 to 1500 word essay about what your research paper is about. Now when I ask you to write an introduction, it is very overwhelming usually when you are told to write an essay of 1500 words. So that we have covered, or we have divided the introduction also into 5 parts, okay? The first part is what is the problem, okay, the problem statement. The second point is how are people trying to solve this, and third point is what are current issues, what are the issues with the current approaches. So second and third point basically deal with the literature study, okay? So whenever you're doing a literature study of previous papers, that is actually those points are going to come up in the second and third point of the introduction section, and that is exactly where you should write the bullet pointed references also. We are going to be having a separate section on references later on, but then here is where you keep your references section written as a bullet pointed version, so that we have uh, already our references section ready whenever we are writing that particular section, okay? And then the fourth point caters to your approach, your novelty, the novelty in your research paper. Very, very important point. What do you propose, okay? And fifth point again deals with large scale implications of your solution. So ideally, an introduction should be written as a bullet pointed 5 point should be written in the introduction, along with separate bullet pointed references as well, okay? So this is about introduction, okay? Then the next point in the paper outline is the figures, okay? So you must have seen a lot of papers, a lot of research papers that have a lot of figures on them, okay? Figures are something which are visually representing all the data that you have mentioned, and actually figures are very, very important in your paper, okay? And that is why remembering these 6 points is extremely important whenever you're inserting a figure, okay? When I talk about these points, it may seem very simple and something which involves a lot of common sense, but then when you actually insert figures, most students or most writers tend to make a lot of mistakes, okay? So please be aware when you are inserting figures. So your figures should be of high resolution. There should be legible access sticks and labels. There should be consistent choice of colors, font family, font size. All the figures and sub figures should be correctly labeled, okay? And then titles, legend, and sub figures numbers should be there, and size of colors of markers should be consistent, okay? So these 6 points are extremely, extremely important. And then how can you make figures, how can you prepare or insert figures, okay? You can either do it through Canva or Adobe Illustrator, or you can use traditional approaches like Excel or PPT as well. And Overleaf also allows you to insert figures, and it's very comparatively easier to insert figures in Overleaf as well, okay? This is just a sample figure that I have shown you as an example of an ideal figure, how an ideal figure should look like. You can see that you can see here the figure number, figure title, sub figure number, description, X and Y axis, font size, font color, everything is very, very consistent, and that is exactly how your figure should be, okay? So very, very important again to maintain the 6 points that I talked about. Okay, yeah, like I said, you can insert figures in Overleaf as well. The next part, like the figures, is the tables, okay? So anything and everything that can be converted from text to table form should be ideally converted to tables. But then the points that I mentioned for figures, the same pointers should be remembered for tables as well, okay? Consistent use of font, labeling of every table number should be given, and everything should be very, very consistent, and there should be no grammatical mistakes and no spelling mistakes as well, okay? Inserting tables in Overleaf is also possible and very, very easy, okay? Yeah, so this is basically the paper outline that I talked about, and now we are going to talk about different sections, other sections that apart from the paper outline. Okay, so now we are at the stage where we are expanding our paper outline to full-fledged paragraphs, because that is how a research paper is. A research paper consists of different paragraphs, and that is how we are. That is why actually we are converting these bullet-pointed paper outline into paragraphs. Okay, there is a separate section, like I mentioned in the introduction section, that references is also a separate section that needs to be added. We already have added a bullet pointed references section previously, so we are just converting that bullet pointed references section and adding a few more references also that we have used in the entire paper outline in this references section. Okay, and then like I said, the different references section is also a separate section, and you should mention it like 1 2 3 4, so you can mention different references point wise. Yeah, like I said, this is the bullet pointed paper outline that we talked about, and now we are converting that, or we when we are writing a paper manuscript, we convert a paper outline into paragraphs. Acknowledgements also is a separate section, very short simple section, that also is an important part of the manuscript. Here I have written one of the acknowledgement section written by one of our students when they were writing the research paper. So when you are doing literature study, it's very very obvious of what kind of acknowledgements, what kind of acknowledgements you are going to write in your research paper. So it's a very simple section. Okay, and then like I said, you are converting a bullet pointed introduction to a full fledged paragraph version. Okay, and then we also have another section called as the conclusion section in at the end, that actually talks about the takeaways, the key takeaways, or the summary of the paper. It is a comparatively simple section, and you just have to talk about what your paper is about and the summary of your paper. Okay, so it's also, the length is same as the abstract, 200 250 words, and a paragraph needs to be written. Okay, yeah, now we are at the stage where we have written the entire paper manuscript, and this is also one of the sections that is not mandatory to write. It's a supplementary material section. If there is anything that you have missed to add in the previous sections, but you think it's important to write, but then it doesn't fit in any of those sections earlier, you can add a different section called as the supplementary materials, and you can add different things like figures, text, data, code, or anything else that you feel is important to mention. Okay, here I've given an important example of Dr. Sridath, where he has mentioned a supplementary text, figures, and legends for movies. So this is something that he thought was very important to mention in his paper, that was not included in the previous sections. This section is not mandatory, but then I'm just showing it to you if you want to add anything else. Okay, I'm going to be talking now about the different mistakes, or the kind of things that you need to keep in mind when you are finalizing a paper manuscript to be submitted to journals and conferences. Okay, so writing style is one of those things that needs to be taken care of, and when I talk about writing style, I talk about active and passive voice. Okay, active voice is something that should be used instead of passive voice when you are writing a research paper. Okay, because the active voice gives that kind of authority to your paper, and passive voice actually takes that authority away from you, and it gives the kind of feeling that you are writing, or you are stating an observation of something that is that you're observing from far, and something that you have not actually worked on. Okay, so use active voice when you are writing a paper. And then use of tenses also is very very important. Use of correct tenses in the correct place. Okay, so as a rule of thumb, you can use present tense for analysis conclusions, and past tense for experiments conducted. So this is the kind of tense thumb rule that you should use when you are writing a paper manuscript, when you're writing those paragraphs. Now grammar and spelling errors are a complete no no in this time, when we have plugins like Grammarly available, and it's a complete no no and a complete a disaster actually, and can be a reason for rejection when you are making some vocabulary or some grammar mistakes. So you can either install plugins like Grammarly, or you can go by the old school approach by taking a printout of your entire paper manuscript, sitting with a highlighter in your hand, and then writing or trying to find out all the mistakes and being your own critic. Okay, that is something that you can do, and point out every mistake from the manuscript, highlight every mistake, every small mistake that you can find, and make those corrections later on. So please make sure that you don't make any grammar or spelling mistakes. Okay, and then identifying the journal or conference for submission. So when you talk about conferences, there are a lot of top machine learning conferences in the world that we submit to, namely JuliaCon, MSML, NeurIPS, IEEE, CRN, etc. But then the identifying those conferences also, that there is like a specific way in which the conferences or journals are identified when you are trying to submit your paper for publishing. Okay, so when that paper is in machine learning, it is mostly the journals and conferences that I just talked about. But then if it is some other field, then you actually go to Google Scholar. You actually type names of different papers written in the same field or on the same topic, and then you see the kind of journals or conferences that they have been published in, and then that is where you submit. That is actually the idea, or that is actually the way you should follow when you are selecting journals for submission. Okay, and the impact factor also of a journal, it needs to be considered when you are selecting those journals. So generally, if it's your first publication, an impact factor of 3 to 10 can be considered very, very good. And submitting to that kind of journal is going to be, of course, very difficult also for first timers. So it's completely fine if your paper gets rejected when you are submitting that paper to any journal with an high impact factor. Okay, so higher the impact factor, the difficult it becomes for you to get your paper accepted. Okay, and then yeah, now we are coming to the point where I'm going to be talking about scientific machine learning bootcamp, how you can transition to machine learning, how you can do impactful projects, how you can publish ML research, and how you can finally transition for either a career change, an industry change, or for applying to grad schools. Okay, so like I said, the fields typically that people transition to are from any field. Any and every field people can transition to the field of machine learning. The bootcamp actually that we have curated, or the bootcamp that our co-founders have curated, talks about all of the things that are mentioned here. So I'm going to be taking you in detail of the bootcamp. So we talk first, or we first of all, we are introducing you to transitioning to machine learning, then scientific machine learning, what is Julia programming, running ODs, PDs, and then neural networks, and then PINNs, etc. So we are also going to be doing two hands-on projects here, and like I explained toy projects earlier done in the other courses, we are not taking into consideration any of the toy project. Okay, we are taking into consideration very serious projects that we are doing before we proceed to write a research paper. Okay, so the first project is COVID-19 infection prediction using SciML. The second project is black hole dynamics using SciML. So these are the projects that you can successfully add to your profile, and these projects will be considered as serious projects and not as toy projects when you are updating your resume for either of either career change or making applications to grad school. So these are the projects that you can add to your profile very, very successfully, and these will be taken very seriously as well. Okay, so these are some of the papers that I have just shown you as an example, the way you can publish your own papers in machine learning. Yeah, these are some of the projects that we were working upon. And then the different plans or the different boot camps that we have available when when you are trying to transition to machine learning, we have a lot of options that you can choose from. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about all of these plans in brief, so that it will help you get the basic understanding of what these plans are exactly about. Okay, so the first plan is the student plan, and here actually we are talking about, like I said, in the curriculum, it's like, pre-recorded lectures, videos, and assignments, homework assignments, and projects at the end. Okay, so this is the student plan. All the curriculum is covered in the student plan, and along with projects also. Okay, so but the student plan is completely self-paced, and you can do it at as and when you have time. So it's completely, it depends upon whether or not you want to, which assignments you want to approach and how you want to proceed with this plan. The next plan is the community plan. Okay, so this is an upgrade from the student plan in a way that you get personalized assistance from our co-founders when you are enrolled in the community plan. So if any of the topics is not clear to you, if any of the things is not clear to you, you can actually, ask questions to our co-founders, and they'll be able to answer you, or they'll be clarifying those questions very effectively. Okay, so this is the advantage of community plan. Also, you'll be added to a community of other participants in this plan through Discord channel. So you'll be also able to interact with the rest of the participants through the Discord channel. The researcher plan is the most, I would say, the most popular plan out of all of the plans, because it takes into consideration the research element that I was emphasizing a lot on at the start of this webinar. The researcher plan is very, very important and extends above the community plan in a way that we are also aiming to write and publish first author research paper by integrating your core domain with machine learning. Okay, and we are talking about, so I'll talk about the timeline a little bit. The student plan and the community plan take approximately 1 month to complete, because that is essentially the first part of the researcher plan. The second part of the researcher plan is where you publish a research paper, and that takes approximately 2.5 to 3 months. Okay, so the entire duration of the SciML Bootcamp researcher plan is 4 months, and the SciML Bootcamp industry professional plan also is an extension of the researcher plan in a way that you will be doing some additional projects also here, and also you will be taking into consideration an actual research problem statement. Okay, an actual problem statement in the industry. Okay, that will help you make a successful transition for industry professionals. So if you're an industry professional, this plan is the most suitable for you, because the kind of content that we have in this particular plan is catered to the industry. Okay, so these are the different plans that we have in the scientific machine learning bootcamp. And then we will help you with the following: so confidently transitioning to machine learning from any field, and we will take into consideration real life hands-on projects also, and then converting the projects into research publication without leaving your domain. So taking into consideration your ideas, your interest, or something that you've already worked upon, or if you're applying to grad schools, probably things that you would want to, the field that you're applying to, maybe you can consider taking up those topics as well. Okay, then I'm also going to be talking about a few things that we did as a part of this bootcamp. Here on the left, you can see a few testimonials that we have from a few of our students. And on the right, you can see that people from our boot camp have in this cycle, or for JuliaCon 2025, this is also one of the top ML conference venues in the world, and here actually 4 of our papers got accepted, and people have presented papers here. So I've just mentioned the topics here that these papers were based on. First paper was based upon brain tumor, the second one was based upon cancer cells, ocean pollution, and neuron plasticity. Okay, so this is a very prestigious achievement, and 4 of our people have actually gone ahead and presented in JuliaCon. Here actually is one of that presentation. We had just made a LinkedIn post about it. 2 of our students went ahead. So this is the photo of 2 of them presenting at JuliaCon, and this is actually another top ML conference venues in the world, which is called as the MSML. And one of our students also went in to submit or to present a paper at MSML in Italy. Okay, so these are some of the things, or these are some of the prestigious achievements that you can look at when you are actually publishing to these conference venues. And when your paper gets accepted to these venues, you actually have to go and present your paper, and it's kind of a very prestigious achievement when you are going and presenting your ideas or the work that you've done through the course of writing a research paper. So this is actually something that we do in the SciML researcher and the industry professional plan, because those plans consider, or those plan consist of writing a research paper along with introducing you to the concepts of machine learning. Okay, and then this is just a glimpse of life at MIT. If you're applying to grad schools, probably something that will inspire you. These are photos of Dr. Sridhar when he went there. It's like it was a very culturally and academically enriching experience. And it's something, when you get admitted to these top schools, the kind of learning that you receive is actually multidimensional. So this is the kind of these are the kind of photos, just to give you an inspiration in your journey ahead, right? So coming to the end, if you are interested in the scientific machine learning bootcamp, or you are interested to know more about the details of which bootcamp is suitable for you, you can write to us at hello@flyvidesh.com. It's fine if you don't attach your resume, but you just mention your LinkedIn profile, or you give us a link to your LinkedIn profile, and that should be enough to revert to you as soon as possible. So write an email to us at hello@flyvidesh.com if you are interested to make a transition to machine learning, either in the industry, or if you're looking for applying to grad schools, and if you want a bit of machine learning experience, research experience to your profile. Okay, either way, we will revert you as soon as we can, probably in a day or two. Send us an email at hello@flyvidesh.com, and we'll be happy to revert to you as soon as we can. Okay, so I'll just stop sharing my screen, and I will look at a few questions that people have posted in the chat. Yeah, so you are talking about recording. Yes, I am recording this webinar, and I am going to be posting a recording of this webinar on our YouTube channel. And in the email that I will be sharing you tomorrow as a follow-up email after this webinar, I will give you the YouTube recording link of today's webinar. So you can, whatever you've missed, you can go ahead and watch in the YouTube recording. So yeah, we will be posting a recording of this. So math knowledge basics like linear algebra needed for the transition. Yes, so the basic mathematic prerequisites that you will be needed to transition to machine learning will be linear algebra, probability, and statistics. Okay, so something that is already taught in 11th and 12th grade. Those basic fundamentals related to linear algebra, statistics, and probability are enough to make this transition. Because when we are talking about, or when we are starting our boot camp, it very much starts from the very basics. Okay, so aside of these topics, there is actually no mathematical prerequisite that is required to make a transition or to get started with any of the boot camp. Okay, so yes, the presentation, of course, it will be available when you look at the YouTube recording. The YouTube recording will consist of all the slides that I have shown in today's webinar. So you can watch the recording to look at the slides that you've missed, or probably if you want to study in detail one or few of the slides, you can actually do that when you are watching the recording. Yeah, so I have lost touch of all those basic. Is there a refresher? Yeah, so actually, what I'm going to be doing is also, when I post the YouTube recording, we have also a few mathematical basics playlist also that we have released on our YouTube channel. So if you feel that you have lost touch of the topics, mathematical foundations that I just talked about, you can view the playlist that I'm going to be sharing in the description of the YouTube video that I'll be posting, and the link that I'll be sharing. So you can view that playlist as well. That actually will cover all of the mathematics foundations as well. Okay. But then again, I encourage you first to view the boot camp first, and then see if you've actually lost touch, because it feels like you've lost touch. But we start from the very, very basics. It's very basic that we start from, so it's completely fine. So the cost for the researcher plan, yeah, so I will be sharing the website details also for each of these plans. You can go in the our organization website, and you can view each of these plans in detail. And our co-founder has actually made videos at the start of in the website itself. There are videos at the start of each boot camp. Okay, each of those 4 boot camps have separate videos, so you can watch those videos also to get more details on what exactly will be covered in these boot camps. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, you're talking about EMIs or something like that, and fees. Okay. So, if you are talking about enrolling in the researcher plan, I would say that the community plan is the first part of the researcher plan. And though we don't have any formal installments available for payment, but you can, register for the community plan first and upgrade to researcher plan a month later. Okay, so that essentially will serve as an installment, and actually will act as an EMI option as well. So that is something you can do. So there is one question saying that when you say boot camp, you're referring to 37 videos. So no, the boot camp is completely different from the machine learning teach by doing playlist that I showed during my webinar. That playlist is something that you should be doing, or something that you should do if you are doing this boot camp. You should do that side by side. So it's like the nuts and bolts of machine learning. It will not help you to write a research paper in machine learning, but the boot camp is something that will help you effectively add those the things that you will be doing into your resume. So the playlist is something that you can keep watching every video, 30-minute video, every day, for a duration of 1 to 1.5 months. And in addition to that, doing the boot camp also will be very effective, because that is something that you will be effectively able to add in your profile. Okay. So yeah, so I think we are at the end of our session. So starting with ML, he has to do the math first. So no, you don't have to do the math, or you don't have to do the playlist first before starting the boot camp. That is why I said that we start from the very basics in the boot camp. Okay, that is why we have dedicated the first part of the machine learning bootcamp to the basics of machine learning. We are going to be starting from the very basics. If you think, after going through 1 or 2 videos, if you think that you're finding it too difficult, then probably you can not watch the entire playlist, but then only target the specific points or the specific topics that you're finding difficult. Okay, and that is something that we also will be able to help you with when you register with us. So that is also something that we will take care of. You don't need to watch the entire playlist, but nevertheless, I will be posting the link to the playlist in the description of our YouTube channel. Okay. So yeah, I think we are at the end of today's webinar, and just look out for the email that I'll be sharing tomorrow with all the details, and just revert to us if you have any questions, and we'll be happy to help you. Okay. Thank you very much. Bye.